Well, golf fans, Big D back and better than ever as we start the 2026 golf major season. Big D Podcast, Monkey Circum Sports, Iron Top Production. We got it all today. And join me from the UK, Tom Jacobs, ready to tee it up. We're bringing out the driver because it's Masters Week. So, Tom, happy Easter, and you ready for golf's first major of the season?
Yeah, happy Easter to you, Dylan, as well. Am I ready? I don't know if I'm ready. I think it's come around quite quick. I think it's come around quite quick for a lot of the players who, to be honest, would probably like a bit better prep, right? I think there's some players at the top that would definitely like to have a couple of more months to get ready. But look, you take what you can get now. I think there's some good players coming into form. There's obviously we'll talk about a few of them today, but there's certainly some question marks over some of the biggest players, and they definitely would like to have a couple of weeks to sort it out.
Yeah, looking at prep time. Do you look at course history of guys who played well, or it doesn't really matter? Because some guys are like, you know what, I don't really care about the Pebble Beach, or I don't care about the Sony Open or whatever event, or the Cognizant Classic. I care about the Masters, the PGA, United States Open, and the Open.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things I kind of look at. I think there's a couple of courses that are worth thinking about for majors. So I think that playing well at the Players is the closest thing to a major, right? There isn't one. I think playing well at Riviera is always important for Augusta. As we kind of always talk about. Bay Hill, I think, is close to a major test, right? So I think those are all kind of worth focusing on. But yeah, I mean, do we really care about the Sony Open and Houston and even Texas this week, right? Probably, if anything, the Texas might be a bit of a negative for a lot of people this week. So there's ups and downs, right? I think, if I think about, spoiler alert, I haven't picked him. So if we think about Chris Gotterup, right, and his wins earlier in the season, do we care about either of those? I mean, we probably should, because the last 4 years, the Masters winners have all had 2+ wins on the season before winning the Masters, right? And pretty sure Gotterup's the only person that's kind of in that boat, right, this season. So you would kind of want to have him on side in some capacity, but he's probably won the wrong events to be, too excited. I guess Phoenix, maybe, but like Sony Open, we don't really care about. I think
didn't win the Scottish Open, but
he did. Yeah. I think just like this season, I mean, he's like the person that's probably taken one of the biggest leaps. I guess Jacob Bridgman, another one, right? That both of them have really changed their careers around. It's not like the previous seasons where you go, oh, do you know what? Like John Rahm had won three, 4 times, leading into the Masters that year. Scotty Scheffler had won a couple of times leading into it the first time. He'd won 4 times before that. Rory McIlroy had won 2, 3 times last season. Like, it was really obvious, it felt like. But this year, it's like someone's probably going to surprise us, unless it's Chris Gotterup who wins. And then you go, okay, well, he won twice this season. He tried to tell you. But there's a lot of trends that would have to break for him to win this event.
Let me tell you, Chris Gotterup is not my one and done for the Masters, but you'll have to wait until the end before I reveal my pick. So when it comes to Augusta, you've got one word to describe Augusta. What's your one word?
Unique, I would say. I think it's a very unique test. The greens are their own animal. The fairways are so sloped you don't really see it until they do the kind of really good camera angles that they can do. You probably don't appreciate kind of what these players are hitting on until you kind of get the better view, and even probably having to see it in person to really understand how hard it can be to play off some of these slopes and cambers and all these sorts of things. So a very unique test that requires, this is why people don't really win at the first time of asking, right? Fuzzy Zeller, unfortunately passed away last year, but his record still stands from whatever year it was, right? Like 1978.
1979.
Yeah, 79. So, there's a reason it's been that long since we've seen a debutant win. And look, we've had people come close, right? I mean, when everyone talks about that trend, I always say, well, look, if Jonas Blixt was good enough to come second as a debutant, then maybe we can get a debutant winner. We've had Aberg go close. We've had Spieth obviously go. So there's people that can obviously break that trend. Is Chris Gotterup the person who's going to do that? Probably not, but he's certainly playing well. So I didn't intend to start this podcast talking about Chris Gotterup. I've gone off on a bit of a tangent, but it's going to be a difficult Masters to predict, I think.
Yeah, when it Augusta, one word is tradition. Pebbles brings beauty. Oakmont brings difficulty. St. Andrews is historic, but Masters is tradition. I mean, it's the only golf major that's played on the same course year after year. Some guys have figured it out from day one. Others, well, it took umpteen years for Rory McIlroy to finally get his green jacket. But everybody goes off one. I mean, full par fives. I mean, yeah, some courses change. I mean, we know courses get longer and tougher. But in the end, the Masters is still the Masters.
Yeah.
There are places where you can miss it. There are places where you can't miss it. You can't miss it. You can't miss it short at 11, 12, or 13. Otherwise, you're going to have fun. You can't really be short and left on a front left hole location. I mean, there were places to miss it. There are also times to be aggressive. If I have a good lie, a good lie in the fairway, be aggressive. And maybe some years, like the year Zach Johnson wins, maybe you don't go for any par fives because literally no one can go for par fives.
No, I think it's really interesting, right? I was looking at two players, and we'll talk about one of them later, and I guess we'll probably talk about both of them at some point. But it was really funny. Like, one of them really needs to cut out the bogeys. He's very aggressive, makes tons of birdies, but lets himself down by making the doubles and the bogeys. And then you've got this one player who's just incredibly solid every time he tees it up at Augusta, really good at bogey avoidance, but doesn't make the birdies required to get into contention, apart from one or two times where he's really got in the mix. So you do have to find that balance, Dylan, don't you, of aggression when it's there, right? And I think Rory, we saw it all in Rory's Sunday round last year, where he got aggressive when he really shouldn't have done on par fives, and but then had to get aggressive to kind of save his round. So I think he got kind of lucky that Bryson wasn't there to capitalize on the final day, because he was having his own problems with his irons and things like that. But he showed that you have to stand up and hit the shots, and it's the best test for sure. Like, I don't know that there's any course that's a better test, better one to watch. There's no major I enjoy watching any more than, and this comes from someone that obviously lives in the UK and could go to millions of Open Championships, right? Like, I love the Masters. It's the best event. As you said, all that tradition, all the music that plays, Magnolia Lane, the par 3 contest, the ceremonial tee shots, everything about it gives me the kind of chills. So I'm really excited to get cracking this year.
And so, here's an interesting question. Now that Rory McIlroy finally won the Masters, who's the best golfer without a green jacket?
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I think, because I would probably say Bryson. I think that's probably the right answer. But in terms of like who's had all the chances and had that long standing, it's got to be Justin Rose, right?
Yeah, at least currently playing. Rose has been in what, 2 playoffs?
Yeah, 2 playoffs, and was really unlucky to lose both of them, right? There was always that commotion with all the noise with Sergio's one, and then he had a pretty good shot in the playoff hole against Rory, and then Rory was just better. Like there's no two ways about it. So he's been really unfortunate. He's obviously come close outside of playoffs as well. But in terms of just pure talent, I guess it's Bryson.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you on Riot, but in terms of Masters heartbreaks, I think Greg Norman would have to be at the top of the list with how many times he was in contention. Obviously, 86, 87, 96. We don't need to replay all those crazy Masters plays where every shot Greg Norman hit found its way into the water.
Yeah, I'm sure he doesn't enjoy those YouTube final round recaps, does he? Where you can watch every Masters back and forth. I'm sure there's a lot of live golf haters out there that would actually quite enjoy watching them, although he's not involved in it anymore. But yeah, it's I think current players have got to be between Bryson and Justin Rose, Greg Norman, obviously. And look, there's plenty of players that have played well over the years there and not quite it down. I mean, Xander Schauffele's played there, a good few times now and really impressed. Colin Morikawa has been very solid there. So there's a good bunch of people that could really make an impact here.
Patrick Cantlay.
Yeah, Patrick Cantlay's, it was interesting. I was looking at him earlier, and again, spoiler alert, I haven't bet him, but really did look, because I think that's one of the forgotten kind of stories of that Tiger Woods year, right? Is that Cantlay was in the driving seat, ready to win, and then just go straight in the water. And it's Xander was there that year as well, right? So, I think Cantlay is one that people probably overlook a little bit, but he's not really, living up to his reputation at the moment either. So it's a tough one.
I'm trying to think. Patrick Cantlay's 57-1. And Justin Rose is 36-1. And I'm like, I think I would take Rose, especially on the course that he's done so well. I mean, Rose is a streaky player. Rose is a streaky player, but Rose, especially when he won Torrey Pines, which is a long course.
Yeah, I would definitely pick Rose. I'm not betting him this year for the first time in a little while because of the odds just being what they are. But I fully expect him to be involved in some capacity, and it'd probably be first round leader. Then he's done it 100 times already. Right?
Oh, so Justin Rose is definitely first round leader.
It's got to be. But he was at such big odds coming into. If you'd got him kind of a year in advance, I'd have a really nice number on him, and so yeah. I'd love to, if it wasn't one of my bets this week, I'd love to see Justin Rose win. I really do think he deserves it, and if he ends his career without a Masters win, it won't quite be as devastating as Greg Norman, but it won't be far off.
Yeah, I think Rose would be another popular Masters win, little like Roy, because we know how the blood, sweat, and tears Rose has done. Plus, he's one of the good guys. I think talking about another guy who we'd love to see win. I mean, I don't know if necessarily Augusta is his course. I firmly expect this guy to win a major later this season, but I think Tommy Fleet would be another guy we'd love to see win.
Yeah, I think Tommy Fleetwood winning his first major would be a more popular moment. But I think Justin Rose is a more popular Masters winner. I think people respect what he's done there over the years, deserves it. Went toe to toe with Rory in his kind of biggest moment. As you said, I think the more it kind of goes on, the more respect people have for Rose in general. He is definitely one of the good guys. Yeah, I really like Justin Rose. I'd love to see it.
Do we expect? I don't know about you, but is Colin Morikawa playing next week? Because ever since the Players, where I think he was everybody's one and done, he's broken a heart.
Yeah, I think he's going to play. I think the reason he's kind of taken the time off is to get ready, but really hard to be confident, right, about his chances, because all being equal, he would probably be one of the most bet players this week if we didn't have that injury concern. But then we've got injury concerns over Rory. Like, it's because I actually think Rory McIlroy this year, there's always the thing about the last person to go back-to-back Tiger in 2002 and all this sort of thing, and it doesn't happen. Champions, then it gets in the way, etc. I think Rory McIlroy is the type of player that now he's got over this big hurdle of winning the Masters, winning the Grand Slam. I think he's bloody minded enough to actually go and do this and win it back to back. But I have that concern again, like Morikawa, of just the injuries. Like, okay, Rory teed it up at Sawgrass, but he didn't play well. He obviously wasn't fit. So I think there's huge question marks over both Rory and Colin and how they're going to come into this. And hopefully everyone tees it up is really healthy, and we can have what can be the best the Masters can be this season.
Yeah, and then Scotty Scheffler hasn't played since the Players, but that's because he's been on baby watch. So that's a complete. So if the police don't arrest Scotty Scheffler, it's an even year. I mean, we know what happens in even years. Scotty Scheffler wins the green jacket.
What's really funny about Scotty Scheffler is when I was kind of writing up about, we did a player-by-players guide on today's golfer and power ranks everybody. And like in my head, I'd written Scotty Scheffler off this year. I was like, he's hitting his irons so poorly. Like it's so hard to write someone of his talent off anywhere, but especially Augusta. But he looked lost. He had all these kind of distractions with the baby, etc. And then you look at it, and his worst finish is 24th, and he has already won this season. Like what? Like maybe we need to pump the brakes on. Like, is there any concerns about Scotty Scheffler? So, I think it's overblown at the moment, but very hard to ignore the fact he's 80th in strokes gained approach to them. Like that is a massive handicap to what we've seen in the past.
And we also know Scotty Scheffler's putting, although it's been better lately, can get a little hot and cold.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think it's really kind of important to put into perspective kind of who he is, what his records have been. We just have to accept that he's probably going to be there or thereabouts at some point.
I mean, even in an off year last year, I think Scotty was top 10, top 5, top 10 last year?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I mean, would it surprise anyone if Roy gives Scotty the green jacket and Roy first of last year?
I think the only one that Rory would be upset about is putting a green jacket on Bryson DeChambeau. I can imagine that would cause him some upset. But
oh boy, or better yet, Patrick Reed.
Yeah, that would be tough for him to do.
Yeah, that would not look good at Augusta National if Patrick Reed won his second green jacket. Just to piss off everybody.
It would upset a lot of people, wouldn't it? But let's think about it, Dylan. Like going back to kind of the betting again and Augusta. We talked about the traditions and why we like the event and the courses. But when you're looking at breaking down the Masters and thinking about your picks, what are the kind of stats that you really focus on? What about the courses that you like? Is it, we see people talking all the time about you have to be really good at the par fours and birdie and better percentages on there. Is it the around the green that famously everyone wrote Bryson off because he couldn't chip around Augusta and then goes and leads the field and around the green last season? Like, is there something that you really focus on? Because driving it's advantageous to be long, but like you can get away with, a stray driver. Is there something that you're really honing in on this season that would help you with your pick?
Usually you would think driving, but everybody not named Justin Rose hits it a long way now, and the rough isn't totally penal at Augusta compared to an Open Championship or U.S. Open, where if you hit it in the rough or you hit it in a bunker, maybe at 13, you're probably hacking out of the you-know-what. But
yeah,
I think Augusta's always, to me, a second-shot golf course, because if you can put your ball in an area, be aggressive, and then take advantage of what will undoubtedly be fast greens, you've got a chance to make 3 anytime. And even if you get it in the finding an area where you can get up and down from around the green is going to be important.
Yeah. I think you're right, and I think like it's like a not obviously the approach point to your point about the second shot golf course is obviously really important. It's one of the things I weight quite a lot, but like there is an element, and the reason I like Augusta so much is there is just an element of like you need to be creative. You need once you do, you are going to get in trouble at some point. You need to be able to get yourself out of it. You are going to have to deal with the fast greens, which means any chips under the green are going to run off. You need to be really smart about it. You need to have the towering approach shots, all that sort of thing, right? So I do think that's all really important. It's funny you talk about distance and everyone being long, and you know Justin Rose kind of being able to kind of come out of that. You look at last year, Patrick Reed third, Sungjae Im fifth, Zach Johnson eighth. Like you can get round here without the kind of biggest driver. So it always helps in every tournament being longer because you can then make a decision whether you want to take a little bit off or whatever it might be, club down. But I don't think the actual distance is going to fuel it, right? Because there's obviously certain long holes, but most of the par fives are generally kind of opportunities where you don't need to necessarily drive it too long. You just need to make sure you get the right angles. There is some long par fours, but again, you know, a lot of them you're trying to just get pars, right? So I wouldn't get too caught up in driving. I think it's kind of that bogey avoidance is something I really like the look of. Scrambling at this time of year, I think is really important. And then I think the reason why it's, you know, we see so many repeat performers, you just need to know the golf course, right? You need to know what's going to happen if you miss left or right or long, whatever it might be, how you're going to get yourself out of it, how you're going to deal with the kind of sloping approaches and all these sorts of things. So, yeah, I think just course knowledge is so important.
Yeah, and of course, what could be the ultimate deterrent is the weather. And we've seen Masters where it's been incredibly wet. Now they do have Masters. Augusta does have some areas, some underground
sub-air system,
that can control how fast the course will be. But still, if it's a wetter course, the course might play a little softer, particularly the fairways and greens. So, and I think in a way could change, but we know. I mean, if you hit the ball on the fairway, hit the ball on the green, make the putt, you're gonna win. You're gonna go a long way into winning a green jacket.
And this is the thing that I'm right. Like every year we try and break down all these stats. Hit more greens, hit the fairways, make the putts, and you'll win, right? And sometimes it's just really hard to predict, especially around Augusta. So, you know, we're here to do that, and we'll give you all the tools that we've kind of looked into. But one of the things I really like about it is it can get really unpredictable, and you can get people making runs. You can get people get really hot over 3 or 4 hole stretches, and you can get people completely ruin their rounds over 3 or 4 holes. I think that's the real, you know, you get amen corner, and it's like, look, if you get through there, you might be okay. But I enjoy it when people, well, I mean, it depends who it is, but I don't always enjoy it. But I enjoy the fact that there's that much jeopardy, you know, around the corner. So, yeah, really, really looking forward to it.
And also, you know, would it surprise anyone if we have maybe not a first time Masters win, but we could have one of these young guys win? What if Ludwig wins? Now, I mean, if he holds out for eagle every hole, then he's got a good chance to win, right?
Yeah. I think Ludwig is the obvious young gun, right? But I think Akshay Bhatia is throwing his, you know, hat into the ring with the way that he's been playing this season.
And we know left-handers always win at Augusta.
Yeah, eventually. I really like Nikolai Højgaard. You know, he showed a lot in his debut here. He made the most birdies in the field that week. So I think there's, you know, a couple of really good kind of young guns. I mean, Marco Penge is playing. I mean, he's not young, but he's kind of new to everyone in the kind of US, right? Like, yeah, I think there's a really good chance. Yeah, I do think we can get a younger, more inexperienced player win this year.
I'm going to name you a list of 5 or 6 golfers.
Yeah.
And would it surprise? And what do you think about their chances to win this week? I'm not going to. I'm not going to pick Scotty or Roy because those are too obvious.
Yeah.
The first guy is pretty obvious with how he's played this year, coming off the win at the Players. Cameron Young.
Really good chance. I think really good chance. I think there's a couple of reasons. One, he's obviously got those back-to-back top 10s in 2023 and 2024. I think a lot of people worry about this trend of you can't win the Masters after you missed the cut the year before. Well, Patrick Reed did it in 2018, so it can be done. Cameron Young potentially as talented as Patrick Reed, if not more so naturally. I think one of the biggest differences in his game this year is he's limiting the bogeys, and his scrambling is so much better than it was in the 2 years that he played really well here. So I think that's a big plus. And of course, Dylan, this is the first time he's played not just the Masters, but any major since becoming a PGA Tour winner. He obviously won the Wyndham Championship in August after the major season was done. So yeah, I think he's got a great chance.
Yeah, and also not just how Cameron finished 2025, but how he played at Bethpage during the Ryder Cup. I mean, you on a course that actually I think favors him. I mean, it's funny that Cam Young won Sawgrass, which I didn't think would necessarily fit him, and now we go to a course where Cam can hit the driver more often.
Yeah, I honestly think outside of my kind of one and done, who we'll talk about later on, I really like Cameron Young. So yeah, certainly think he's got a good chance.
Let's see. Who am I going to pick next? Victor Hovland.
It pains me, but I'm going to say no. I think Victor Hovland is so far in his head right now that he doesn't really know what's best for him. The best thing about Victor Hovland, I think probably when we first did our shows together, Dylan, I think I talked about Victor Hovland being a future number one. I think I was really bullish about him on majors for the first few. I think he was one and done for at least a couple of majors for me. I still have that long-term belief in him. But if you look at it, like he was in a really good spot. I think he was in Dubai at the start of the season. He was in third place going into the final round. He shot a 76. He finished 10th in Phoenix, but started really slowly there. Then he's had a couple of 13th place finishes recently. And again, the Arnold Palmer, where he was, not that close to the lead, but just a solid enough 13th place. Finishes 13th in the Players, where again, he was fourth after 54 holes and just fell away. So I'm really worried about Hovland's kind of staying power at the moment. And then, of course, you've got that question mark that everyone applies to Bryson, which is the around the green stuff. So, he's got a top 10 under his belt here. He finished 7th here 3 years ago. And, arguably could have been further in the mix. He was inside the top 4 for 3 rounds before that. He was 9th at halfway last year. So I do think it's a good course for him, but I don't think he's quite playing well enough.
Although Holland was in contention at the U.S. Open, Oakmont, which, Oakmont's probably the hardest test of any U.S. Open course. So, if Hovland gets, I feel like Hovland is like Justin Rose Jr. If he could get ultra hot with those irons, look out.
Yeah, look, in terms of just pure talent, in terms of can he do it on the day? I think Hovland is capable of the lowest round of the week this week without winning. That would be my kind of take on him this week.
Ooh, I got one for you. Matt Fitzpatrick.
I really don't know. I think Matt Fitzpatrick.
If the Masters took place in Florida or Hilton Head, maybe a Brookline, he'd have a better chance, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the point. I think one of the things, I think people will always remember Fitzpatrick playing so well in 2016, right? Which is when Daniel Willett had the chance. when Danny Willett won it, sorry, Fitzpatrick gave himself a bit of a chance, halfway through that round on Sunday. He finished 10th here 3 years ago. I don't think he's ready to win. I don't think he's shown enough yet at Augusta. I think he's been good. Obviously, I think he was low amateur. Maybe he wasn't. I think he had a good showing early on in his career. But, I just don't know if it's the perfect golf course for him. And as much as he's had 2 or 3 decent results here, he's got a 7th, a 14th, a 10th. I think he'll have a really solid week and not much else, despite the fact that I think he's probably a top 5 player in the world at the moment.
Yeah, especially coming in second at the Players win Valspar on the other side of Florida a few weeks ago. Plus, we know golfers on Baby Watch might have multiple Dalton in mind.
Yeah, true.
You want a spicy one?
Go on.
Let's see. Oh yeah, Jordan Spieth.
I knew that when you said spicy, I knew Jordan Spieth was going to come out of your mouth. I do think Jordan Spieth can win it. I think he's shown just about enough in this season. I think I've kind of talked about it in articles recently that I think Spieth is very close to being back. I don't think he's ever going to get back to the kind of very top of his career, because I just think that was unsustainable. I think that he probably just isn't quite as, I don't want to say talented, unfair, but just doesn't have the kind of skill set that the very elite golfers have now. He doesn't have that kind of long driving and doesn't quite get as hot with the irons as he needs to. The Texas Open performance this week is a little bit concerning. Would be my slight pushback. But we know he loves Augusta. He's got all the tools. We know every year there's an Augusta specialist that turns up, and Spieth is certainly one of those. So, yes, I think he can win it, but I do expect it to be slightly too soon in his comeback.
Interesting. Because we know one of these. It's funny you call Spieth an Augusta specialist when that was 11 years ago when he won. But you know what? Guess how long Tiger went between Masters wins? 14 years.
Yeah, and Spieth's drop off hasn't been quite as severe, right, as Tiger would. So
you could say that again.
So. Yeah, look, I don't think he's going to win it, and it has been a long time since he was that very clear kind of chance of winning. But yeah, I'd love to see it. What a story it would be, right?
It would.
He's been 3rd and 4th in the last 5 years, so 14th last year when he wasn't playing as well. So. Yeah, I think he's got a chance of placing. It's a lot to ask for him to go 2-1-2 again, like he did for the first 3 years of his career.
Does Jordan Spieth have another major in?
I think so. Just maybe.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Maybe a certain major at a certain course in a certain state next year,
or a return to one he's already won at in Birkdale, right? So,
oh boy, do not put in a Matt Cooch, otherwise they're going to be looking for an hour and a half.
Yeah, and I bet Matt Cooch that week, so more for me. But I just think maybe just for 2 reasons. One, he's obviously won at the golf course, but 2, Open Championship kind of suits him down to the ground, the creativity aspects of it. And 3, he's just given him the whole kind of another few months to get himself major contention ready. So, I like Jordan Spieth, and think about the odds are not there to go and put some money down now. He's only kind of like 55 to 1 or whatever it might be. We don't need to go and jump the gun.
38 to 1.
Yeah,
38.
we don't have to come on that. Like we can wait, but yeah, I'd be interested at least.
You mentioned one lefty. How about another lefty? That being Robert McIntyre.
Yeah,
I mean, he fits Augusta to a T,
yeah.
being left-handed, but um,
I think he can. I'm not going to bet him because again, I think the odds have come in to a point where I don't need to really worry about it. He's got to break that trend of missing the cut the year before. But he is a completely different player these days now, right? Like he is just so consistent. You know, the fourth at the Players. He's a couple of wins now. He's played well again this week. You know, he's still in contention at Texas Open as we speak. He's still got kind of 6-7 holes to go. Yeah, I think he can. I don't think he will. But I wouldn't be surprised if he found a top 5 finish. Maybe kind of sneaking in towards the end. I think he could post his best finish in a major so far.
that's pretty good. I mean, I don't know how high you can go when he was second at the U.S. Open.
Maybe not. Yeah, second. I'll forget about that. Second at the US Open. So no, he'd have to win to do that. But his next best, I guess, which would be fifth. Yeah, I think he. I mean, that's second. Obviously, like really probably should have won, right? The US Open in 2025. That's the thing, and you know we're talking about a player now that's got multiple wins on the PGA Tour. He's got big wins on the DP World Tour, the Alfred Dunhill. So yeah, I think he's a different player this time around. I think he really can win it. With the players that I've got in mind that I expect to challenge, he would fall slightly below them. But yeah, good chance.
And now we go for and my last guy, Sepp Straka.
No. It's just going to be a no for me. I fell into this trap last year. I convinced myself that he was going to do it. The Austrian / Georgian who really should have that kind of local support. I just don't think he's done enough for Augusta to prove that he can win it. I think he can win a major championship. I think he's playing better than maybe people are giving him credit for at the moment. But we're talking about a player that's gone 30th, 46th, 16th, and then miscut the time that I bet him at Augusta. Hasn't broken 70 yet, I don't think, at Augusta, which is always a bit of a barrier to overcome. He's only broken shot under par a couple of times as well. So, yeah, no, not for me, Sepp Straka at the Masters.
I think Sepp would be better if the course got hard, firm, and fast. Where I think the harder it is, the better it is for Sepp.
Yeah.
Sepp, I mean, doesn't hit the ball long way, wait with his irons. So if it becomes maybe a second shot course, I think, but is Sepp giving up too much to some of these guys on the tee?
I mean, look, we talk about that, and again, like I say, I'll always point people to Sungjae, Zach Johnson, and Patrick Reed last season. I think he's fine, but I just don't think he's got what they've got, which is the Masters experience and the kind of craft around the greens. And I think he can certainly get hot and have a low round, but I don't think he's got the staying power at Augusta to win it.
Speaking of guys, how about one guy who's won? I mean, it's funny, we've gone this long and haven't talked about maybe two of the big names heading to golf's first major year, that being Bryson DeChambeau and Jon Rahm. I mean, would it surprise anyone if either of those guys won? I mean, we don't have to say because, if you know me, you know who I'm picking for Augusta, but what do you think about those fellas?
Yeah, I mean, look, one of them is certainly going to get a big yes from me in the one and done. They can both win it, is the simple answer. I think Jon Rahm has struggled a little bit at Augusta since winning it. I don't know the kind of additional expectation, whether he's kind of just just struggled, like being one of the favourites every year after winning it, because he was, seamlessly like brilliant for the first kind of 5 years, right? Like barely finished outside the top 10 after his debut, or didn't finish outside the top 10 after his debut. And then he's been a best of 14 since winning it. He's only broken 70 once. I would take Bryson over John Rahm. Bryson's obviously got 2 wins to Rahm's 1 on live this season. Bryson beat him in a playoff. He also beat Richard T. Lee in a playoff, so maybe that's not quite as relevant. And they both threw away to let the biggest story in golf this season happen, which is Anthony Kim to win in Adelaide. So I'd be a little bit concerned. I think it was a great return to the majors last season for John Rahm. I think he'll take a lot from that, and I think he's a live runner in every single major this season. I would just prefer Bryson.
I think both guys win a major this year, but you know which way I'm going, but I'll let you wait a few minutes.
Yeah.
All right, Tom. I am the trivia savant. Everybody tries to stump me, and before you try and stump me, I've got a trivia question for you.
I'm terrible at these as well, so it's going to be very easy to catch me.
I think you might have a chance at this one. Remember, and by the way, Rory McIlroy is not an answer because he's Irish. 3, not English, but 3 British golfers have won green jackets at Augusta. Who are they?
Nick Faldo.
Yes.
Andy Lyle.
Yes.
And Ian Woosnam.
Wait a minute. Oh, wait. Wait. Yeah, Woosnam's... Oh, shoot. Okay, then 4.
So 4. So we've got Lyle, Faldo, Woosnam.
Okay, yes.
And Willett. Danny Willett, of course.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, 4 golfers. Might have to... Yeah, because... Yeah, Woosnam won in 91.
Yeah.
Okay, then 4 British golfers have won green jacket.
Well, the reason you probably, Woosnam probably left out there because it's been a while since he's been, he hasn't been playing as one of the defending champions, as they say.
No, I'm like, shoot. Yeah, British golfers won 4 straight years winning green jackets.
There you go. I've got a couple for you, Dylan, and I've made them particularly hard.
Go ahead.
Because you always get them. So, can you name me the player who signed for an incorrect scorecard at the Masters in 1968, which cost him making a playoff against Bob Golby?
Is he a famous golfer?
You would have heard his name. Is he a famous golfer? Not the biggest. He's definitely been mentioned in majors for sure.
Has he won a major?
He has won a major. One major. And one of his compatriots has also won at Augusta as well.
Oh, boy. That just took away the answer I was thinking of.
Who are you going to say?
I was going to say Tony Jacklin.
No, it's not him.
Well, I can't believe Tony Jacklin never won Augusta, but that's here and there.
It's let me give you a clue. It's a Latin player.
Lee Trevino?
No.
Oh, God. Shit. If this is the Argentine golfer from back in the day, I'm going to be fuming at myself. What is his name? I can think of his name, but I probably can't think of the golfer.
You're on the right lines, so definitely stick with that.
What's his name?
Roberto Di Vincenzo.
Roberto Di Vincenzo.
He's obviously compatriots with Angel Cabrera.
Angel Cabrera, I knew that when you said.
I'll give you a slightly more recent one. So Tiger Woods completed the Tiger Slam at the 2001 Masters. Who did he hold off to win by 2 strokes that year?
If my memory serves me right, I think this guy won the Open Championship the same year. That would be David Duval.
Correct. Yes, that was the slightly less mean version of the trivia questions. And I'll give you a third one because I really did try and catch you out with the first one. Who was the last player to win the Masters wire to wire? I'll give you a clue. It wasn't Rory McIlroy last year because he started slowly.
I've got a really... How far back do I have to go?
Well, I mean, it is a reasonable long time ago now, but we've spoken about him on the podcast already. So,
Jordan Spieth 2015, anyone?
Jordan Spieth 2015, last player to win it wire to wire. I think that goes like a long way, Dylan, to talking about how difficult this golf tournament is, right? Because when you think about dominant players like Scottie Scheffler and Rory McIlroy have now won.
I was even thinking DJ in 2020, the year he won an umpteen on the pole.
Yeah, like all these kind of really dominant victories, and you have to go back to Spieth for the one that led after every round, and boy was he amazing that year. But yeah, crazy.
Okay, so we mentioned trivia, mentioned course. You know what we haven't mentioned? Bets. Who are you betting for Augusta this year?
So I'll say, by the way, I think Dustin Johnson maybe did win it wire to wire, so maybe that trivia was wrong. So maybe I've got you wrong there. But so my bets, I'll save the one and done until the end. So the first person outside of my one and done is Cam Young. We mentioned earlier how much we both liked his chances. I explained a little bit of why. Obviously, outside of just the 2 top 10s, I think there's a little bit more to it. Obviously, now won the best tournament he can win that's not a major, right? With the Players' Championship. Okay, he had to kind of, rely on others to kind of throw it away a little bit. But I just think he's come on so well. And the 2 biggest things that really highlight that is that if you look this season, he ranks inside the top 20 for scrambling and 11th for bogey avoidance. This was as of the Houston Open or the Houston Open ending. So in 2024, he was coming into the Masters ranking 69th in scrambling and 71st for bogey avoidance. In 2023, he was 155th in scrambling and 103rd in bogey avoidance. And he still managed to post back-to-back top 10s. You think about all of these kind of major performances he's had, how good he's been. He was 4th at Oakmont last year. That was the latest of 6 major top 10s that he's had. It's his 3rd major top 4. Augusta is now the only major where he hasn't had a top 5 already in his sort of career. He's got to keep the bogeys off the top of the card. In 2023, he made 9 bogeys and 3 doubles. In 2024, he had 13 bogeys and 3 doubles. So he's kind of shot himself in the foot a couple of times. But I just think about someone, that's won already this season. He's won the Players, big tournament. It was very close between him and Xander Schauffele. And I think if you remember back to earlier in the podcast where I said that there's 2 people I chose between, it was Cam Young, the birdie maker at Augusta, and Xander Schauffele, the one that kind of keeps bogeys off his card that maybe doesn't go low enough. That was the kind of decision in the end. But Cam Young ranked 3rd for birdies and birdie and better percentage in 2023 and 2024. So really can get it done here. He's just got to tidy up his card.
I'm with you with Cam. I think Cam makes a lot of sense, particularly with how he's playing this year. I actually think Cam and Shinnecock is tempting.
Yep. He could win any of the majors this year, for sure.
I don't think it would surprise anyone. If I like Seth if you can get him in the 70s. Corey Collins probably going to make everybody broke. I think he's 82-1. Probably a good first round leader bet.
Yeah, he's not going to win. So
Patrick Cantlay's probably breaks my heart. I've done JT 8,000 times. I have no idea what to do with him.
I found another Patrick instead.
Let me guess. Reed?
Yeah, Patrick Reed. So look, since winning the green jacket, he's had 4 top 10 finishes here in 7 starts, including a third last year where he shot 4 rounds under par. When he won in 2018, he hadn't won anywhere since August 2016. He'd missed the cut the year before, so he's broken 2 of those trends that people always like to throw out. You know, he hadn't been winning on live until the summer last year, so that wasn't really the best preparation for him coming to Augusta. He's been playing on the DP World Tour this season, as people will know, Dylan, and he's won twice there, right? He's won the Dubai Desert Classic, he's won the Qatar Masters, he's lost in the Bahrain Championship in a playoff as well. The slight concerns that we haven't seen in place since he finished 10th at the Joburg Open a month ago. And I'd like to have had 1 start since then, but the DP World Tour tournaments didn't really suit him, and then he's obviously not been able to play on the PGA Tour yet. But he, leads the DP World Tour in strokes gained tee to green, second in approach, he's 5th the greens in regulation. That ball striking is going to go a long way. And look, those stats are against a far inferior field, if you like, because he's been dropping down in class really. But this is probably his best prep for Augusta for a long time, and we know he can win it. So I think anything kind of 30-1 and bigger looks pretty good for Patrick Reed.
Okay, you can go ahead and ask the question.
Who is your one and done for the 2026 Masters? And are we going to end up on the same one again this year?
Well, we did it in 2023 with a certain guy who ended up being on live. I think we're going to do it again because Bryson DeChambeau is going to win the green jacket.
He is. He's my one and done as well. But Dylan, enough of me talking. You tell me why Bryson's going to win the Masters, and then I'll fill in any notes afterwards.
Bryson DeChambeau is the best freaking golfer in the world. Enough of him in the final pairing. Enough of him coming close, and then himself the last round. I think we want to see a showdown with Roy, Scotty, Bryson. Final round on Sunday. If you give me Bryson and Roy, good for it might be good for versus Evil. I think Bryson's capable. Hopefully he doesn't try and go over the trees and end up in the trees or in Race Creek or in a bunker where you can't play from. Just hit the ball, fairway, green, make the putt.
I agree. And I think one of the unsort of said things about last season, Dylan, how amazing Rory McIlroy's win was how much better it was because Bryson was in that final round. Like having that good versus evil narrative, right, was a big part of making that what it was. And I wasn't rooting against Bryson because I'd bet on him and I certainly wanted him to win. But I think really and truly, Dylan, like the last 2 years now, he's shown that he can win it. Right, like he's shown enough of this kind of thing where he sort of said it's a par 67 for him. Last year he was inside the top 5 all week, and he was in second place after rounds 2 and 3. The year before, he was leading after round 1, still the co-leader at halfway. A couple of over par rounds over the weekend meant he finished 6th, but he led the field in around the green last season. I think that's massive. He's been working on his kind of half shots, his iron play. He's been testing out those different wedges. Even with all this testing going on, he's won 2 times in a row, on live. And I think winning in South Africa and Singapore when you're not at your best is really quite impressive. I think he's a global golfer. He's shown it around the world. He wins on live when others don't. Maybe don't take it quite as seriously as he does. We know he's a major winner. We've done it a couple of times now. This is the one. I think this is the one he wants, right? This is the one he wants to put himself on the trophy. This is the one where he's the best player without it so far. He would have learned his lessons. He has to, like Cam Young, he has to reduce those bogeys. If he does, he wins because there's no other limitations at this point. He's in fine form. He knows how to play well on the par 3s, 4s, and 5s, and cut those bogeys out even just slightly, and he'll win.
All right, Tom. Thanks for hopping on. Wish you well, and hopefully we'll. You know what? Can't wait! Can't wait for the best weekend of the golf calendar, Masters week.
Dylan, it's always a pleasure to join you. Thank you for all the effort you put into the show, and I'm always glad to join you for the majors.